This is Optimal Living Daily Relationships, episode 89. 7 Smart Ways to Stop Fearing Rejection, part 1, by Marc Chernoff of marcandangel.com. Welcome, relationship optimizers. I'm Joss Marie, your host and personal narrator right here on the Relationships edition of Optimal Living Daily. This is your one-stop podcast for all things relationships, where I narrate blog posts about dating, breakups, parenting, marriage, and much more every Monday through Friday for free. If you enjoy our content here and listen frequently, please consider subscribing to the show. Not only will you get episodes delivered directly to you daily, but by subscribing, you will also help boost our rankings in the Apple Podcast app. So thank you in advance for all your support. Today, I'll be narrating the first part of a 2-part mini-series from Marc Chernoff of marcandangel.com. So make sure and come on back tomorrow for the second part of this post. And with that, let's hear today's post as we start optimizing your life. 7 Smart Ways to Stop Fearing Rejection, part 1, by Marc Chernoff of marcandangel.com. When you're feeling insecure, you typically don't notice the hundreds of people around you who accept you just the way you are. All you notice are the few who don't. In what way is the fear of rejection holding you back? How would your life be different if you didn't care whether everyone liked you and agreed with you or not? To answer these questions, we must understand that the vast majority of our fears and anxieties amount to one thing: loss. We fear losing our youth, losing our social status, losing our money, losing control, losing our comfort, losing our life, and so much more. We also fear, perhaps more than anything else, being rejected by others. This kind of fear is widespread and debilitating if left unaddressed. Why is this fear so deeply entrenched in us? In ancient tribal times, being rejected from the safety of the community could have meant death. So it's no wonder, really, that we want to be accepted by others. Fear is an instinctual human emotion designed to keep us aware and safe, like the headlights on a car, clearly illuminating the twists and turns on the road ahead. But too much fear, like high beams blinding us on a dark, foggy road, can cause the loss of the very thing we feared losing in the first place. This is especially true when it comes to fear of rejection. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I was a teenager, I was always the outcast trying desperately to fit in with my peers. I bounced around to 3 different schools and various social circles in each school within a 4-year time span, and I faced rejection after rejection. I can distinctly remember shooting hoops on the basketball court by myself on numerous occasions. Always the new kid, always longing for acceptance. For the longest time, I thought these childhood outcast experiences were the root cause of my obsessive, people-pleasing ways in my adulthood. In my 20s, I was always looking for signs that others didn't like me. I would seek reassurance, always wondering what people really thought of me. Do you look for acceptance and reassurance from others too? Constantly seeking acceptance and reassurance from other people is a dead end. These things can only be found within you, not from others. Why? Because any look, word, or reaction from someone else can be warped and misinterpreted as an upcoming rejection when it simply isn't. My fear also extended beyond my personal relationships. I was a budding writer and hesitated to start Marc and Angel Hack Life for several months, for fear of having my writing judged and rejected by others. In this post, I want to share some tips that helped me feel self-assured and eventually allowed me to overcome my fear of rejection. Number 1, realize that fear itself is the real enemy. Franklin D. Roosevelt so profoundly said, quote, "Only thing we have to fear is fear itself," unquote. Nothing could be closer to the truth. This is especially true as it relates to self-fulfilling prophecies. A self-fulfilling prophecy is a false belief about a situation that motivates the person with the belief to take actions that cause the belief to come true. This kind of thinking often kills opportunities and tears relationships apart. For instance, you might wrongly believe that a group of people will reject you, so you become defensive, anxious, and perhaps even hostile with them. Eventually, your behavior brings about the feared rejection, which wasn't there to begin with. And then you, the prophet, feels that you were right from the very beginning. I knew they didn't like me. Do you see how this works? Look carefully at your own tendencies. How do your fears and beliefs about possible rejection influence your behavior toward others? Take a stand. Instead of letting fear show you what might be wrong in your relationships, start looking for signs of what might be right. Number 2, let go of your end-of-the-world thinking. All variations of fear, including the fear of rejection, thrive on end-of-the-world thinking. In other words, our emotions convince us that an undesirable outcome results in annihilation. What if they don't like me? What if he rejects me? What if I don't fit in and I'm left sitting alone at the party? And so on. None of these things result in the end of the world, but if we convince ourselves that they do, we will irrationally fear these outcomes and give our fears control over us. The truth is, we, human beings, are inefficient at accurately predicting how future misfortune will make us feel. In fact, most of the time, we avoid consciously thinking about it altogether, which only perpetuates our subconscious fears. So ask yourself, if disaster should strike and my fear of being rejected comes true, what are 3 constructive ways I could cope and move forward with my life? Sit down and tell yourself a story. Write it down too if it helps, about how you will feel after rejection, how you will allow yourself to be upset for a short while, and then how you will begin the process of growing from the experience and moving on. Just doing this exercise will help you to feel less fear around the possibility of rejection. Angel and I discuss this in more detail in the adversity and relationships chapters of 1,000 Little Things Happy, Successful People Do Differently. Number 3, hear that in tomorrow's episode. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled 7 Smart Ways to Stop Fearing Rejection by Marc Chernoff of marcandangel.com. We actually cover Marc and Angel pretty frequently here on the Relationships edition of Optimal Living Daily, so please consider subscribing if you'd like to hear more from them in the future. As a subscriber, not only will you get our episodes delivered directly to you daily, but as I mentioned briefly earlier, you will also help boost our rankings in the Apple Podcast app. This means a lot to our team here at Optimal Living Daily, as you are the reason we can continue growing the show. So thank you so much for subscribing. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again tomorrow for part 2 of this post, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Marc and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode, and head to oldpodcast.com, that's OLDpodcast.com, for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.